It's kind of a beginner's guide. So this webinar is basically for beginners, who want to have a career path in data analytics. So this webinar is for you. Why did we choose data analytics? In our WhatsApp group, there was a time we threw out some questions and we are asking people which career path are you interested in tech, and majority of the people said data science, some say data analytics, and so we just had to pick that topic up. And apart from that, in our present world today, especially this past election that we just had, we saw that data played a lot of role there. Anytime you turn on the news, especially Twitter, you see people predicting which candidate will win this particular region and all that. All that is because of data. So today we are going to dive into the world of data and explore various career opportunities in data analytics. And our guest speaker is here with us today. He's a renowned data analyst, so he's going to tell us everything we need to. Without wasting your time, first, let me introduce myself. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Ulomo Kenya. I'm a senior software developer. I am the founder of Vision Blink. I am currently doing my master's in Northumbria University, Newcastle. I'm a programmer, or what you can refer to as software developer, and I've been coding for more than 9 years now. So that is why I'm passionate about discussing about everything tech, bringing people to the world of tech, because at least for this period I've been there, we all know the benefits. I kind of have seen the benefits and how lucrative this industry is. So I would like everybody to join this industry. So that is that. So what do we do? Now, like I said, I'm the founder of Vision Blink. Vision Blink is just a community where we discuss everything about tech. Now, if you're a young person, if you don't have any career path, you're still struggling, you don't know how to start, just join this community. Every month we have online webinar about a particular career, a particular role in tech, so we discuss. Apart from discussing this career, we have other things we do, which I'm still going to talk about. So this community, if you want to transition to tech, or you're already in tech, but you want to advance, this community is for you. Basically, what do we do? So every month we have an online webinar. Like I've said, the first webinar, this is our third webinar. The first webinar we had, we talked about various roles in tech that don't involve coding, because that so many people are scared about coding. And there's this misconception that all roles in tech is all about coding. So you spoke about that. If you're in our WhatsApp group, we always post the link. You can go and watch that. We discussed about product manager, project management, business analyst, and a whole lot of them. Then secondly, we do mentoring sessions. We have some people we talk to, apart from the webinar, we have people we talk to one-on-one with them. If you're confused about a career path to choose, we speak to you. So basically, we have people that we are talking to now. We have technical writers, we have web designers, we have some junior software developers that we are talking to. And we also have UI UX people that we are working with. We also do online training. Last month, February, we started our online training and on UI UX, and it's free for now. Yeah, we have 20 students that we are working with. And at the end of this webinar, they will come and share their experience with us. So we just started that in March, and we are in our 6th week now. And I must tell you, they've really learned a lot, and they will share their experience with you guys here. So that's basically what we do: online webinar mentoring and online training too. So, but the training is not all the time. It's when we see a good facilitator that we trust, we can bring the person on board to come and help us train some of our students. So now, before I introduce our guest speaker for today, We have
Good evening.
agendas that we have an agenda. Hello, good evening. Please, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Our agenda for today, after introducing our facilitator, he's going to take us through, he's going to discuss this webinar with us, this data analytics webinar with us. When he's done with the discussion, you can now ask your questions. He will answer your question. We can take at least 6 to 7 questions. Then when we are done with that, our students that we are working with currently will come, 3 of them, they are here, they'll come and share their experience with you guys. Then when we are done, we will talk about the special offer we have for you. Like the last webinar, we had a special offer, and this webinar, we also have a special offer. So just listen, we are going to announce this offer at the end of the webinar. So you don't have to be here with us when we talk about that. Okay, first, let me introduce Nnamdi. Nnamdi Ezogu is his guest speaker for today. He's a senior data analyst. He's my friend. He has been in this industry for 8 years or more than 8 years. Okay, he's a software developer. He's a data analyst. He has worked with various industry. And he's currently in the UK. He's doing his master's too. And he's working too. So he will be, he will take us through this webinar. And after the webinar, you can now ask your question. So, Nnamdi, are you here? Over to you. Hello, Nnamdi.
Yes,
Please
I'm
unmute
here.
your. Okay, thank you. You can start.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
can hear you.
all right. So, without wasting much time, Olama has said everything that needs to be said. So, without wasting much time, we'll need to go into the business of why we are here today, and that is to talk about data analytics and the career paths that are open to people who are practicing data analytics. So, so that's basically why we are here today. So, data analytics, if you're looking at our slide, you can see that we define data analytics as the process of examining data sets to uncover hidden patterns and trends in order to derive meaningful insights for effective business decision. Now, that sentence is very self-explanatory. What it simply means in a layman's terms is data analytics is all about taking data, raw data. Now, being able to, sift through to the data, being able to, find hidden patterns within the data, by which you can use to make, businesses better, to make your organization better, to, derive insight that will be useful to your business so that you can maybe increase your profitability, maybe expand your market. There are different business decisions. So basically what you are doing when you're analyzing data is to be able to find, trends that you can use to make effective business decisions. And that's what we call the goal of data analytics, which is to extract valuable insights and information from data and then use it to make informed business decision. Now you can wonder what do we mean by making informed business decisions, or what you mean by how do you use data to make an informed business decision. Sorry. For instance, I can explain that using a very good example. Take, for instance, let's say you own a business, for example, and the end of a business, like we all know, is to make profit, to solve a problem and then make profit. So, for instance, you could this business, over time, you could let me even look through what I have done over the years. Am I actually making money in this business? Is there areas I can improve? Is there things I'm not doing well? Are there things I'm doing well? These things are not the things you do off the top of your head. You need data to solve some of these problems. So using data, you could say, okay, probably you look through data over a period of time. Let's say 1 year. I could say, okay, over a period of 1 year, I've made this sort of investment. I've invested so amount of money. Okay. I've also generated so amount of money. Okay, this is where I spend most of my money. This is where I earn most of my money from. At the end of the day, you'll be able to see using facts and figures, which you derive from their data, to see actually whether you are making progress or you're actually going backward. So this is a typical example of what data analytics is all about. In other words, to find meanings using data and then to use it to improve your business. That is basically what data analytics is. So whenever you are engaging in things like this, you're actually performing data even without knowing what you are doing. A lot of us actually perform data analytics in our day-to-day lives and activities without actually knowing that that is what we are doing. All right. So that is basically what data analytics is all about. All about using data to find meanings, to find meanings in your business or in your activity, so that you can be able to make improvements in what you are doing. So without wasting much time, that is what data analytics is all about. So in the next slide here, you can see that we talked about the data analytics process. Data collection, visualize your data, validation and testing, data interpretation, and then data analysis. All these are the different things we do in the course of analyzing data to be able to achieve our stated objectives. All right. So the first one, we talk about define objective. You find out that before you take on any task, for instance, or before you do anything generally, you should actually have a clear idea of what you are doing and what you are getting involved in. The same thing applies in data analytics. Take, for instance, you have a data set, for instance, and you are asked to maybe look at, let's say, a school, for instance. You are asked to find out if this school is, let's say, they are making progress in their external examinations, probably over, let's say, 5-year period of time. You can't just come up and off the top of your head and say, okay, we are doing well, we are not doing well. Yes, why those things are true, they need to be backed up with facts and figures. This is where data analytics comes into play. So let's say you've been given a task to find out actually if this school is actually making progress in their external examinations, for instance. Are students passing their WAEC? Are they passing their JAMB exams over the last 5 years? How have they fared? This is a business task that you have been given as a data analyst to do. And then you have been handed data sets to find out, to sort this problem out and then present your findings to maybe the management or the head of the school or maybe, or such people. So the first thing you need clarity in what you are doing. And that's what we mean by, you need to define your objectives. What am I actually asked to do? You're asked to do what? To find out the progress of this school over a period of 5 years in the external examinations, whether they are doing well or whether they are not doing well, what areas they need to improve, what they need to keep doing, and then what they need to change and all those things. So with your data, you have defined the objective. And the next thing we'll have here, we'll have data collection. Fine, you could be given data to work with most of the time. Some of the time, you could go out of your way to find the data you need to work with. Like we said at the beginning of this program, this is for newbies, people who are still new into the industry. And as a new person in the industry, most of the time, you'll be given the data to work with. You won't be asked to go out and look for data. But then we included it here all the same because these are things that could come up as you progress in your career journey. But most of the time, as a new person, you'll be given the data set to work with. Now, that's what we mean by data collection. You could either be given the data to work with, or you could be asked to go and look for your own data to work with. Now, the example we gave is, for instance, in a school scenario, where you are even asked to find out these schools, how are they even making progress in external examinations? So probably you need to collect information, or you could be given data about, people that have taken exams in a period of 5 years. And then you are now asked to sift through that data and tell us actually if we are making progress or not. So that takes us to the next point, which is data cleaning and what? Pre-processing. When you read the heading, it's self-explanatory. Data cleaning and pre-processing. Data in this raw form, most of the time, you say that it is dirty. What we mean by dirty data is, the data is dirty. Yeah, literally, that's what it means. When we say that data is dirty, it means that we need to clean it. We need to do some work on it to be able to put it in, the way we need it to be. For instance, from my screen here, I can see that we're about 35 to 40 people in this place. If I say, let everyone here give me a data or collect data and send to me, certainly it won't be the same thing. We are very different people, and probably the way we collect it will be very different. And then when all those things come to my table, most of the time I will sit back and make sure that it is actually in that format that I need it to be. It's actually in that format that I need to work with it. That's what we mean by data cleaning. You need to check every information you need. Is it there? You'll be able to say, okay, it's there. You check this, is there. You check, okay, certain things are missing. You could look through, you can make corrections here and there so that you can put that data in the format that you need to work with it. That's what we mean by data cleaning and what? Pre-processing. All right. So then we'll move to the next aspect, which is explore and visualize the data. So once you have put that data in the format that you need it to be, the next thing is you need to, even look at these things, put it in let's say a format that you can actually look at, you can actually visualize, you can actually see what you are working with, and actually even make some, general deductions about it. All right. For instance, here we have actually generated a lot of data in this webinar, and anybody could say one or two things. You could say, okay, this is the facilitator, this is the these are the participants, these are these are that. Yeah, these things are data sources. You've been able to say one or two things about what we are doing here just by being present here, because you are seeing a lot of things already. So that's what we mean by just explore and visualize your data. What can you say about this data? Okay, you look at it, you say, oh, even without doing anything, oh, wow, okay, this year they passed very well. 2 years ago, they didn't do too well. Let's say, okay, this year it seems that, well, so you just make some assumptions, look at the things you have. You should be able to say one or two things about them. You should be able to note one or two things about them. So that based on that, we now move to the next level, which is, you can say, validation. We call it validation and testing. Validate the result and insight through robust words check, sensitivity analysis, etc., etc. So the fact that you have made certain deductions, for instance, it doesn't end there. You need to actually, put those deductions to the test to make sure that what you actually observed or what you have noted is what it is. That's what we mean by this validation and testing. So this is the next step in the data analytics process, for instance, given our case study. So in this case, you could say, okay, it looks like we are doing well in this year. It looks like we are not doing too well. We didn't do too well last year. Okay, it looks like this year was better than this. You actually put those things in context and actually use the data you have to verify that actually all those deductions you made, all those things you noted actually are what they are. All right. So when I go to data interpretation, we said you analyze the results of the data analysis and interpret the findings in the context of the initial objective. So this is very clear. This is very, very clear. What you need to do here, given the context that I brought out, is, okay, I've been asked to find out, to say how we have fared over a period of 5 years. Okay, if that's true, okay, this is the data I have. You've been able to go through it. You've been able to, clean the data, put it in the format that you need. You've been able to, visualize the data, probably put it in the form of maybe bar charts, pie charts, or other visualization tools, and said, okay, this is what it is over this year. This is what it is over 2 years. This is what it is over 3 years. Then based on that, you could say, wow, that means over a period of 5 years, we've been able to do well over this period, and we've not done well over that period. We could actually improve over this period. Okay, seems we are picking up, you'll be able to, interpret the data you have based on the information you are asked to solve. Because you won't be asked to do one thing and you end up doing another thing. You've not really done anything. Even though you may have analyzed data, for instance, but you have not really done anything. Let's say, for instance, you were asked to interpret your data over a period of 5 years. And maybe you go and do something different. And maybe you go and check, maybe you do something differently. Yes, you may have analyzed data, but that was not actually what you are asked to do. So it's actually a wasted effort, in as much as you did data analytics at that point in time. All right, so that's what we mean by data interpretation. You need to interpret the data in light of what you're asked to do initially. So that's basically what we mean by data interpretation. And then the last thing we have here is, we call it data analysis. So this is actually what your findings. You have analyzed this data. Based on this, you can now say, period of 5 years, we did so and so. We were able to do this and this over the first year. Over the second year, we were able to do this and that. Over the third year, and so on and so forth. Based on that, you can now say, based on what our findings for over the last 5 year period that we worked on, or we analyzed this data set, this is what we were able to find out. We could say that we made a progress of maybe this percentage over this period, or that percentage over that period. This is where we did very well. This is where we need to make some improvements. This is what we need to sustain. This is what we need to do away with. And you can now make some recommendations and say, okay, based on our findings, we need to sustain this particular scenario. We need to discard doing this. If we add this or add that, it could make our results better. All right. So this is your recommendation. This is what you come up with, and then submit your report. You finished your work. Your work as a data analyst is finished. So basically, this is the analytics process. There are different scenarios or case studies I could give, but I believe this should suffice for now. And the next thing we'll have here is the skills required. Yeah, we are talking about data analytics, what they do, how they do it, and the rest of them. And the next question is, what actually do I need to be able to do these things? What skills do I need? The way we grouped it here, we talked about technical skills and non-technical skills. It should be very clear to everyone. The technical skills is actually the, your hose, your cutlass and hose. That's what you actually need to actually perform the data analytics job. And then your non-technical skills, yeah, they're also very important, because without them, your technical skills may not really amount to much or may not achieve the stated objective. So we have certain skills here. We can see programming, SQL, NoSQL, artificial intelligence, machine learning, spreadsheets, effective presentations. And then in our non-technical skills, we'll talk about communication, problem solving, teamwork, thinking, curiosity, collaboration. They're actually more. There's no way we can capture everything together. Even the one we have here, as a beginner, as a new person that we're introducing this, career path to, you are not really expected to master all these skills at the beginning. By convention, as a data analyst, you're expected to have 3 basic skills. First one is spreadsheets. When we talk about spreadsheets, you know about Microsoft Excel, for instance. You know about Google Sheets, for instance. That's spreadsheets. Then you can see SQL here. You must have heard about, or you're hearing it for the first time, something like Microsoft SQL Server. You may hear of BigQuery. You may hear of MySQL, and so on. You might hear of Oracle. These are platforms where you can manipulate your skills with what? SQL. And then the next thing is effective presentations. You need to present your findings as a data analyst. Analyzing data is one thing, but then the product of that analysis, what you have done, you need to present it in a way that your stakeholders, business leaders, or the people that actually gave you that task will understand what you are talking about. So these 3 things, presentation, there are different presentation tools, for instance. You have Tableau. Tableau is quite common. Then Power BI is also very common. Yes. Some of these applications that I mentioned have also presentation tools inside them. For instance, R, for instance, we mentioned programming skills of R. R has a presentation tool inside it. Python too has a presentation skill inside them. You can actually plot graphs there, build charts there, build very beautiful presentations inside them. They also standalone presentation tools such as Tableau, for instance. So basically, when you have skills in presentation, skills in spreadsheets, maybe you know how to manipulate Excel, Google Sheet, and then SQL. These 3 things are key. They are the primary things you need. They are the primary skills you need to be able to evolve as a data analyst. All right. Then from there, you can build on other things. You don't really need to master all these things. The industry you find yourself in, or the industry you end up working with, will, to a very large extent, determine the skills you acquire over a period of time. All right. For instance, those who are, let's say, if you're a data analyst and maybe you find yourself working in the, let's say, financial industry, you deal with a lot with R, or probably things with Oracle, for instance. Your career path will tend differently from somebody who is in a core IT field. Probably those who deal with maybe different things. It may not be the same thing with someone who is inside, maybe in the hospital, who is working with, who is working as a data analyst in the hospital. From there, he can, his own career path will be different from your own most of the time. But there are basic, there are basic things that there are basic points where each and everyone that calls himself a data analyst will meet. Most of the time, you should be able to know how to work with spreadsheets. And should be able to know how to work with SQL. And then you should be able to present your findings. Very important. With these three things, you can actually take your career to the next level. And then the non-technical skills you are talking about, you can see communication, the problem solving, teamwork, and so on and so forth. Communication is very important in virtually everything you are doing. You need to know how to communicate. As a data analyst, no matter how good you are at analyzing data and finding insights inside them, you should be able to communicate those findings to someone who is not a data analyst. Very important. Our host mentioned the last elections that we just had in our country. If you follow those elections very well, most of the things you are looking at are outputs from, analysis. People have actually done the dirty work in the background, and they will be giving you live updates about things, about how INEC is doing with registration, about, the distribution of people who are registering to vote, whether they are men, whether they are women, local government by local government, the number of voters registered in each local government, and those that are still remaining. Those people, you may not really know a lot of things that have gone into the background to produce those beautiful images you are seeing. That's a typical example of what data analytics is all about. They were very good with communication. I actually commended those who worked with them over that period because they did very well with that. No matter your level of experience, no matter your discipline, looking at those informations they were churning out every day, you could actually see the progress they were making as regards voter registration. They did something differently during the voting anyway. Let's not go into that one. But within the registration period, you could actually see that these guys did a marvelous job, a very marvelous job. Even the PowerPoint we are even presenting now is also a typical example. We are looking at very beautiful, screens. Certain things has been done in the background for you to see these screens the way it is and the way they are looking very good to you. Those things that have been done in the background, you may not even have any inclination towards them. They may not make any meaning to you. But the way we are looking at it now, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. The information you need is just here in the format you need it. So that is communication in action. This is communication in what? Action. It's making sense to everybody who is here, no matter your background. You could read, okay, you can read technical skills. Yeah, you just read them. It's very clear. Non-technical, you read them. If you see the background of what this thing looks like, it will not even make sense to a lot of us here. Unless probably you have some knowledge about, programming and the rest of them. So this is a very good example of communication. You need to communicate your findings. Very, very important. And then problem solving, teamwork. Most of the time, in the world we live in today, everything will work as a team this time. It's not before someone will say, you can't even do everything alone right now. The way the world is going, you just have to work as a team. Because what needs to be done are quite plenty. There are just so many that the work needs to be broken down into bits and pieces and then given to different people to work with. And at the end of the day, we just collate the results and present. So teamwork is very important in this field. You need to work as a team. You need to collaborate. And then curiosity thinking, there are different types of thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking, and the rest of them. They are very important because most of the time, you just be given a task to do. You're the one that will figure out how to do it. Nobody will be there to explain to you, this is what you need to do, or this is not what you need to do. No. It's assumed that you're a data analyst. So if you're a data analyst, it's assumed that you should be able to do this job. How you do the job is entirely up to you. The most important thing is result. You need to present result at the end of maybe at the time you are giving is up. So you need the skills of thinking. You need to think creatively. You need to think critically. You need to be curious. What exactly is this? How exactly am I going to do this? And so on and so forth. So essentially, these are the skills that you require to succeed in this field. There's a technical side of it, and then there's a non-technical side of it. Two of them complement each other. It's not just in the field of data analytics. In every field at all, they are very complementary. They're very, very complementary. So we move to the next slide, and then we have what we call the career opportunities that are open to people in this field. You could see some figures that we're able to put together. You could see that from Google, we could find out that there are about 483,000, job openings in the US for people who have the skills of data analytics. You could see Indeed UK, there are some figures there you could look at. And you could also look at the salary range. A lot of people ask this question. In fact, it's a motivation for a lot of people. They'll tell you, actually, does it pay well? And all that, and all that, and all that. Well, you can see it here for yourself. There are also more out there. You can still make some further research for yourself to find out what is actually the current trend. But at the time we prepared this slide, this is what was the prevailing situation. So there are opportunities for people who have these skills. They are. You could see them here for yourself. And the job actually pays well. If you are very interested in knowing the financial rewards of the job, it pays very well. All right. So some of the career opportunities there, you could see data engineer, you could see business analyst, you could see business intelligence analyst, you could see a financial analyst, data visualization analyst, data analyst. In a nutshell, all these things are basically the same thing with just some few, differences here and there, but they have a common meeting point. It's all about using data to solve a particular problem. That's a common meeting point in all these roles. Data engineering is basically those who source for data, different places, and then people who build systems to collect this data so that other people like data analysts can go work with them. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what a data engineer does. A business analyst, thinking about it, is just someone who uses, who solves a business problem by analyzing data. That's basically what he does. Business problems can be different. It comes in various ways, depending on the industry where you stay or where you're working. So there are various business scenarios that could come up, and then you need to solve them using what? Data. And you have business intelligence analysts. It's basically the same thing. People who solve problems with what? Data. People who maximize maybe profits using what? Data. People who find problems where there are problems. For instance, you are not doing well. Your organization is not doing well. You keep losing money, keep making mistakes. You are not meeting targets and the rest of them. These things are things you need to find solutions to. Find out where the problem is coming from and then how best to solve it. So these are what business intelligence people can do. They look through your data sheet over a period of time and be able to say, this is what is wrong here. This is what we are not doing well here. This is what we need to do to be able to start doing things right. Financial analysts, basically the same thing. Difference is that these people, they have a bias towards the finance, people in the banks, in the insurance sectors. All right, that's where they apply their own trade. Data visualization analysts, we've talked about visualization already. People who can present, things in, probably those INEC officials. The actually data visualization was analysts. People who are able to communicate, things the way they are happening, sometimes in real time, with very good, visualizations that everybody could relate. So that's what they are talking about. And then data analyst. When you say analyst simply means someone who can just break things down and find solutions to them. That's basically what he's talking about. Another thing I would like to mention here is I've been talking about analysts, analytics, and so on and so forth. Basically, these words mean almost the same thing, especially in this age that we use them just interchangeably. There's not much difference there. When you talk about analysis simply means to break something down. All right, that's to analyze the situation, to break it down into bits and pieces so that you can actually make some meaning out of it. That's what analysis means. And when you talk about analytics is actually, deriving that insight you are looking for. Those patterns, finding those patterns, finding those trends, finding those insights in data. That's what we mean by analytics. And then there are tools we need to find those patterns and find those trends and find those insights. That's the things we talked about when we talked about the skills that we require for the role. So basically, they are talking about the same thing. So that you don't get confused. Maybe when you hear analytics here, sometimes you hear analysis here. Most of the time, they are talking about the same thing. All right. So that was that for now. There are also different other, roles out there. I'm sure when you make some searches here and there, things come up. People actually, define roles according to what they need. All right. Tomorrow you could hear something. Tomorrow I could even hear something that may not be what I've heard before. The most important thing is that opportunities do come up here and there, and then people define roles based on what they need. and then throw it out there. It's left for you to look at it. Okay, this is what is required. These are my skills. These are the skills involved. These are my skills. You go into it and apply. Another thing I also do tell people about job applications and careers is a lot of the time people make the mistake of I'm not qualified for this role, or this is not my area of core competence, for instance. Most of the time, you don't really wait for you to be 100% to meet 100% of a job role, for instance, to apply. I do tell people that look, if you meet 100% of the roles you need in a 100% of the requirements needed for a job, you're actually overqualified for the job. It's not meant for you. Because a job, there are two things in a job or in a career. One, yes, you need to perform the career. You also need to improve yourself, prepare yourself for something high. So when actually you are at the very top of the pyramid of the job, then as far as I'm concerned, it's not meant for you. All right? It's not meant for you. So as a beginner, for instance, in my own opinion, don't wait to look for when you are totally, you meet all the requirements you see an advertised role. Then before you start considering, okay, I'm qualified for this role and so on and so forth. No. Once you see that, yeah, there are meeting points here and there, probably you meet up to 50, 60. You don't even need to get to 70% of what is there. You can go in there with the basic skills you have. Along the line, you develop other things. A lot of people who have so much skills in their portfolio, they didn't really acquire it from one job. Probably this job, when they did this job, they learned one or two things here, in addition to the one they know already. And then when they move to another role, there are things they also picked up there. And before you know it, they are who they are today. And they are still learning. Because in this profession, you keep learning. You can't say I'm proficient here. No, things change every day. New information come out every day. New tools come out every day. Different things come out every day. So you need to be at the top of your game. You need to be evolving. As the career, as the profession is evolving, you yourself need to be evolving. Else, at the end of the day, you may find out that you don't actually belong here anymore because you have been left behind long ago. So this is when we talk about the career opportunities, this is the little we can add in addition to what what we have on the slide. All right. So in the next slide we have here, we're talking about the resources. Where can we learn some of these tools? How do we pick up some of these skills that we need to progress our careers and be called data analysts? So we've been able to put about 4 different places where we can, learn some of these things, learn some of these skills, and become data analysts. The first thing we have here, we have IBM Data Analyst complete course. We have Google Data Analytics professional certificate. We have a Microsoft Certified Power BI Data Analyst Associate. Then we have a Udacity Business Analytics. These are some of the places, these are some of the courses you can actually take, get certified into that will build your skills along the line. For instance, if you're talking about a Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate, for instance, there's so many courses inside there. You learn about Google Sheets, that's spreadsheets, about Excel, learn about SQL, you learn about R2, you learn about Tableau there, and then you learn about how to communicate. Is there? And I think very recently, I don't remember the exact time, I think there's a new course which is out there, the Google Advanced Data Analytics Professional Certificate is out there already. The difference from this one, from what I gathered, is this one is tailored towards R. They emphasized on R in Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate, for instance. But in the Advanced Data Analytics Professional Certificate, it was emphasized, more of Python was emphasized in that one. All right. So 2 of them are very relevant. There's no skill that is not relevant at all. If you ask different people will give you different opinions. Like I said, it all comes down to the industry where you find yourself. R is very important. It's very, it's a very relevant skill. Python is also a very, very relevant skill. That you're able to master one and left doesn't mean that the person that has this other one is probably a better analyst or not. No. And like I said, you can actually improve over time. Where you started today is not where you'll be in the next 2 or 3 years. So you could start with this, and along the line, you could add, different other things, skills to your portfolio as you move on. So basically, these certifications are talking about the same thing. That is how to analyze what data to make informed what business decisions. But they have different routes. So you are going to find different one or two differences in them. But basically, they are all meeting at the end of the day. You are going to meet at the same point, which is how to analyze data and then come up with what information that will be useful to your business, that will help you to maximize what your business output. That's where three of them converge. All right. So some of these things are online. In this profession, you have to be online. In fact, everything you need is online. Almost everything you need is online. Virtually everything you need. We talked about how to work in teams. A lot of people actually work in different parts of the world, but they are working as a team. So the only way they can come together is the way we are doing now, online. We are meeting. This is Google Meet at the end of the day. So it's very, very important in this profession. Okay, that's very important in this profession. So one of the things we need to learn in this is how to search for information. Good information you need. That's a very big requirement. All right. We are talking about how we can leverage on some of the resources we are talking about here. There are also more. We are not going. There's no way we can list every information we need here. There are actually more out there. So how to search is also very important. One of the things you need to do, let's say for instance, you need to find out. You need an information about, let's say, courses you need to run to probably improve your skills. You can just say online. You can just use. You can say something like, for instance, you could say, okay, relevant data analytics courses. You need to be specific in what you want, and then based on that, the things that you need will be recommended to you. All right. So searching skills is also very important. You need to be very specific in what you are looking for. You need to be very specific about that. And then some of these resources, some of these programs are paid. Some are actually free. There's what we call MOOCs, massive open online courses. They are out there they're out there online. MOOCs, massive open online courses, MOOCs. The S is just a small part of it. So if you just input MOOCs, I can just say data analytics MOOCs. Just put it online to throw up several information for you. For as a beginner, for instance, you may not really go into paid resources, for instance. There are actually a lot of free resources that you can leverage in. For instance, the Google Data Analytics Professional Certification, in as much as it is paid, there's an option for you to, get financial aid and do it for free. When I ran the program, I actually did it for free. I didn't pay. All right. So that's the way it is. Microsoft, for instance, Microsoft Certified Power BI Data Analyst Associates. I think this one is free. You may need to pay to get your certification, but to learn it, you can actually learn it for free. All you need is your internet-enabled device and that. And most of them are just interactive. I know that people have different ways of learning. All right. But some of these courses, due to the fact that they are being, presented to a wide range of audience, there's no way they can do it to fit a person's particular learning requirements. So most of the time, they're just interactive. There's a combination of both video, audio, and then text. All right. So they make it as much as possible so that everybody can be able to learn from them, no matter your learning preference. So the message there is that you need to be very flexible. Some people can learn on their own. Some people, maybe they need someone to guide them, and so on and so forth. So you need to be very flexible in learning because, these people that provide some of these resources, they don't have just one particular group of people in mind. So they need to also maximize, both their time, both their resources and their efforts. So that's the data analytics we are talking about here. They equally need to maximize their own words, their own stuff, and then get these things out. And as much as possible, when you start out them, yes, it could be difficult to run through them. It's actually very difficult. You need, consistency. You need staying power to run through some of these programs. Sometimes you need a mentor. You could find somebody who is, who has progressed maybe beyond you. You could say, okay, reach out to such people. They'll be there to encourage you. Anyone who has gone through these things and come out successful knows that it is very difficult. It's not easy. So you need consistency to succeed. You need staying power to succeed. You need to ask questions to succeed. All right. So as much as possible, when you get some of these opportunities, when you there are ways you can learn for free, or you can get scholarships or aids for free. As much as possible, you try and complete them. It's not going to be easy. Let nobody tell you any lie that it will not be easy. It's not going to be easy, but taking the first step is what makes all the difference. So along the line, when you keep making progress, along the line, things will start getting better as you move to the next level. So that's about that for the resources. The next thing we'll have on the slide is questions. Okay, before we throw the floor open for questions, I want to believe that given the little time we have, and that we've been able to do justice to some of these topics. But nevertheless, I know that there are going to be questions, and like our host said, we can take about 6 or 7 questions. So, for now, we are going to throw the floor open now and take those questions and then answer them. We can take up to 6 or 7 questions or 8, but as much as possible, I would like to take all those questions at the same time so that I can answer them once. So the floor is open for questions now. So when you indicate, you could ask your question. We should be able to take up to 7 or 8, and then I can provide answers to some of those questions. Okay, so the floor is open now. You can ask your questions.
Please ask your questions. Okay, I have a question.
All right. So the first question, I'm listening.
Now, for instance, if you're coming from a background that is not a science background, that is not a coding background, let's say I studied biology in school or even pharmacy in school.
Okay.
How do I transition? Is this career for me? That's the first question. Can I succeed in it? Do you get? Since because some of the skills we looked at here, we are seeing Python, we are seeing R, we are seeing MATLAB, which I know some of they are coding. So from that background, can I succeed in it? Can I do well if I start? That's basically my question. Or is this career for someone like me? So that's my question.
All right. Okay, so next question, please.
Oziomo Okoye, are you raising up your hand? Please ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Andy, for the presentation. My question too is also like, coming from what Uloma was asking. Because coding now, we're like trying to run away. Some of us are trying to run away from coding. So, and somebody told me at a time that to do data analytics, I really need to know Python very well.
Oziomo,
I don't know now. Do I really need that Python that much? And two, most of the courses I've seen online on
I get
on
your
data.
question. We can move to the next question, please. Your question is taken. All right, next person, please.
Hey, hello, good evening, everyone. I would like to ask.
The second question.
Just like
the second question is
thank you.
Most of the courses.
Hello.
Sorry. Oziomo just asked a question. Are you the one asking a second question?
So let her complete her questions. Like, let her ask everything. Then Frances can now ask her question. So Oziomo, please ask your second question.
Hello, Ziomi, are you there? Okay, we can move to the next person. When she's ready, she can have the floor. Next question, please. Next person, please.
Frances, please ask your
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Thank you. I was actually asking, just like Namdi said, can someone actually concentrate on learning SQL, for example, then maybe doing other courses like just to guide you on that part, then afterwards, possibly you get a job whereby you are supposed to use a Python, like code on Python. Can you actually use SQL basic knowledge to start up from Python? Probably when you start the job, there are some like just like you said, while you are on the job or while you are on the course, you can actually learn from there, then acquire more knowledge. Can you use SQL basic knowledge, or can you use Python basic knowledge to work as SQL? That's I know I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I've taken your question. It's fine. I
Okay.
got the question. All right. Next person, please.
Okay, please, Peace Paul Banaja, please ask your question. Peace Paul, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
If she's not ready yet, we can take the next person. When she's ready, she can, still ask the question.
Okay.
We
Someone
can.
asked a question here in the chat box. Must I have a knowledge of spreadsheet to be a data analyst? And what is the minimum level of Excel or spreadsheet must I know? The second question, please, in a nutshell, what is data analysis? How do I go about generating data? So that's a
Okay.
question somebody puts in the chat box. I think Peace Paul is ready. Peace Paul Mbanaja, please ask your question, please. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, good
Good
evening.
evening.
I'm listening, not hearing anything yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, I said just like the first person asked, like if you are in another field entirely, like someone in the medical field, and you don't know anything about data analysis, just like you have spoken, can I do this without knowledge of Excel, or does it have branches? Must you know Python, SQL, all these things before you can do well on it, or it has branches that you can just select one and focus on that one? That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much. Next person, please.
Or maybe you can start answering those ones.
Do we have
Nobody's
one hand?
raising. Yes.
Okay, nobody. I'm still seeing a hand up. As this person asked his or her question, I'm still seeing a hand
Yeah.
up here.
Oh,
But all the same,
okay. Another person as a beginner, where do I start from? I think basically they're asking almost the same thing. As a beginner, where do I start from? From Juhat. Joy Heart, yeah.
okay. So, what's the difference between Power BI and Tableau? I got that question.
Buy power. Is it buy power, Power BI? Okay, Power BI.
Yeah, that's what the person means. I got the question. Tableau. Okay, we can start answering from the first one. Why I wanted to get all these questions is I have the idea that people will ask the same thing. A lot of questions will come, from more than one person. So as much as possible, I needed to categorize them before I answer because we don't have all the time. Okay, so our host asked about discipline. When you are in this discipline, let's say you are not in science background, you are in a different background from what we are talking about. How do you make the transition? Okay, that's what our host was asking about. And I think Peace asked the same question. That's what she was talking about also. How do you make, that transition? Is it possible for someone who is in a particular profession to just move how, and if it's possible for the person to do it, how do you do it? Yes, it's very possible to do it. It's very, very possible. A lot of people who are doing these things, they don't have background in computer science. They don't. So yes, it's very, very possible to answer that question. Okay. So to make that transition is where the problem is. You see, what you don't really have the background from the scratch, it could be a little more difficult for you to do. Yes, it could be a little more difficult for you to do. That's the truth about it. But yes, it's very possible to make that transition. And then recruiters themselves, most of the time, in as much as certifications are important, maybe they need someone with a particular background, or the most important thing is actually the skills you have. The skills you have. You can have all the certifications around, but if you can't do the job, I don't think anyone will give you the job. And I don't think most people have the patience to train you, to the level they need you to operate from. So that's why some of these things are important to at least master them up to a certain extent before you start saying, okay, I need a job here or I need a job there. So one easy way for you to transition from a particular discipline to another one is, I think this is where mentorship comes into play, because you're actually from a background that is not very, a lot of things are actually not at your fingertips. So yeah, I think this is where a mentorship comes into play. At this point, you could identify probably someone who is there, who could guide you, who could show you the road you could go, or who could interpret things for you. So I think mentorship is one of the roads whereby you can make that transition from someone who is already into the profession, one who has the background already. Yes. Also, if you are the kind of person like a lot of people I know who can actually, like I said, some of these programs are interactive. They are very, very interactive between the person who is presenting and you who is learning. Many of them are very, very interactive. So I know that I've met different people who can actually, on their own, make meanings out of some of these things. It's not going to be easy initially. It's going to be more difficult for you, for instance. But yes, it's very possible. People have done it, and people are still doing it. I know different people from different backgrounds. In fact, I remember those days in Lagos. Then that was in cyberspace. I know one of the top programmers there. I think he studied English language in Uniben, if I remember clearly. What's that his name again? His first degree was English language. But along the line, he got into coding and the rest of them. I remember another guy, it's a very brilliant guy. He was an engineering student then. But at that point, I don't think that he was doing even anything about engineering again. He was very good with Java, especially. Very, very good with Java. I didn't really know how he got into Java. He was already into Java. And he was doing exceptionally well in Java. So yes, it's very possible to transition from one discipline to the other. But like I said, you probably need to identify a mentor in the field, someone who is there already, who has the requisite experience that you can leverage on. So that's what I could say. Also, if you are one of the people who can, on your own, who can learn interactively, because that's how some of these courses are being presented. Yes, it's also possible. It's very possible. The only thing I could say is that it will take more time because you still need to master the basics, unlike someone who has the basics already. So I believe I've answered that question. And the second question I have here is, Ozema was talking about, do I need to code, or or do I not have to code? Well, the truth of the matter is, you don't really need to know how to code. To answer it in black and white. Yes, you don't really need to know how to code. Okay. There are so many platforms now that that generate codes. There are so many tools now that generate the codes you need for you to actually do the job you need to do. For instance, R generates most of the code you need. You may need to maybe input a few things here and there, but most of what you need is generated for you. You don't really need to. If you work with SAS also generates most of the code you need. So if coding is actually the way the challenge is coming from, or even Excel, for instance, or Google Sheets, you don't really basically need to learn how to code very much because some of the things you need is already there. Or if you know actually what to, input here and there, it will just solve the problem out for you. You don't really need to start building codes from the scratch to solve the problem. Okay. Even Python, for instance, depending on what you want to do in Python, some of them you can actually build the code from the scratch, but some of them, libraries are there already for you. So it's all about, mastering some of these things, getting to know the details about them. So you can actually manipulate what you need. Even in core coding, languages, programming languages, there are many libraries you can use to actually solve some problems without writing the codes from the scratch. In fact, there's even what in Python for it, depending on what you have built, there's even what we call transfer learning now, where you can even use an existing model to even solve your own problem. All you need to do is just to cut the base of the model off and then fit your own, data into it. So there are certain models that are already there. So you need to identify the one that is peculiar to your the problem you are trying to solve. Then you just, transfer the learning there to your own learning, and it solves the problem for you. So in answer to your question, yes, you can actually succeed here without coding. Yes, you can actually do that. You may not really need to build things from the scratch to succeed. So I think that has answered the question for Ozioma, who was talking about code. Then Frances was talking about, for instance, if you need to work with a particular language, for example, can you use another tool to solve that problem? Why not? Why not? Let's say, for instance, you need to work with tables, for instance. In SQL, you can build tables in SQL. You can also use Python to build tables. So unless probably you are given a specific, you are asked to do a specific thing using a specific tool, I want to believe that the most important thing is to solve a problem, unless you are asked to solve that problem in a particular way. So yes, for instance, you're talking about SQL. I think the specific question you asked was SQL. Can you use SQL in this tool to solve a problem? I think yes. Different things that you can, certain things that you can do with Excel, you can also do them in SQL. If you come into Python, you can also do them inside Python. If you come into R, you can also do them inside R. In fact, if you master R very well, virtually with R, you can do virtually everything. Other people like working with 2 or 3 different tools together, but I think R can actually solve a lot of problems for you that you may not even need any other tool to work with. So in answer to your question, I would think that if you are not asked to do certain things in a particular way, I believe the most important thing is to produce results. So yes, unless you are asked to do it in a certain way, then you may have to go and learn about that too. If I get if I got the question correctly. Okay, there's another question here that talked about how do I generate data? And then must I have, how do I generate the data I need? The truth of the matter is some of those skills we mentioned, some of those processes we mentioned, most of the time depending on what you're asked to do or what you are doing, you don't really need to follow all those steps the way it is. For example, I don't think I've ever gone out of my way to look for data to work with. Most times the data is provided for you, most of the time. So a lot of the times the data you need will be given to you to work with. Or sometimes you could actually source data from an already prepared, data to use. A lot of the times you don't really need to go out of your way. They are what we call primary data sources. That if you need to generate your own data, you may probably go out and maybe sample opinions depending on the data you need to generate. Most of the time, we work with secondary data that is existing already, and you can, use it to solve your own problem. Manage the data one way or the other to be able to solve your own problem. So most of the time, you are not really going to, like I said, I have not really gone out of my way to sample any data or get any data. It's actually what has been existing or what I've been given. That's what I've used. I believe the same thing applies to most people. So you don't really need to worry yourself about how you are going to get the data you need. A lot of the time, the data will be given to you. Okay. So the question I have here is, I had as a beginner, where do I start from? And then I think the same person was talking about the difference between Power BI and Tableau. Okay, so where do you start from? I think I said that when we got to the skills. I said that if you need the skills of spreadsheets. If you can manipulate Excel, if you can work with Excel very well, as a beginner, you may not be able to work with it very well, probably as a beginner. Then SQL also. And then if you can be able to present your findings after working with these two tools, I believe with these three, these three skills in your belt, you should be able to call yourself a data analyst. That's for the technical skills. And then you need the skills of communication, because you need to communicate your findings. No matter how beautiful your findings are, you need to be able to communicate them and say, this is what I found out. Communicate it in a language everybody will understand. So this is actually where you need to start from. Google Sheets is there, Excel is there. If you can actually acquire these skills and also acquire the skill of SQL, and then acquire one or two presentation skills, I believe you are ready to move. You are ready to work as a data analyst. Then you should be able to also communicate your findings. Whatever you're able to, analyze, the product of your analysis, you should be able to communicate it. So basically, with these three skills, in your pocket, I think you are good to go. You don't really need to master all the skills we wrote there from the beginning. No, you don't need to master all of them from scratch. Take, for instance, artificial intelligence and the rest of them. You really need to work with very huge data sets, building models and the rest of them. As a beginner, you don't really need that. You don't really need that to start as a data analyst. But along the line, you're likely going to pick that skill, depending on the industry you're working in, and how you need it, and how they need their work done. So a lot of things will determine on where you find yourself at the end of the day. The industry you find yourself, how large or how small they are, and the rest of them. But a common denominator is these three things I mentioned. That should give you the stepping stone to move to the next level. Okay. So Power BI or Tableau, what's the difference? Basically, these are presentation tools. These are presentation tools. Analyzing data is one thing. Being able to present the outcome of your analysis is also another thing. So you should be able to present the results of your analysis in the language everyone can understand. Because most of the time, the people who you are working with, they are now analysts themselves. That's why they employed you, or that's why they need you. So they can do those things they don't know how to do. What they need most of the time is results. That's what they need. I need to be able to give them answers the way they want it. If you have looked at adverts on the TV, for instance, or on the net, find out whatever you are seeing there makes a lot of sense to you. Because that's what you need. They are not going to bother you with how they do it and brought those adverts. Or even some of these slides we are working with now. It's just what you can see and understand, and it makes sense to you. So don't worry, you're not going to start, maybe they call you to a meeting to come and present. Maybe you have been given a task to find, maybe the company is losing money and you are asked to find out what is happening. You're not going to come there and start speaking a data analytics language. No. All you need to come there and those things you have been asked to do, you come and explain those things using proper visualization tools. You will now be able to present and they'll be seeing it, live feed. Wow, this is where we are running expenses that we don't need to run. If we're able to do this or do that, it will be able to cut down our costs here, maybe improve our, you'll be using examples, beautiful presentations to show those things. That's what they're interested in hearing. Not really what you have done in the background. They don't even have the time. Probably you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to make your point. All right. So I believe I answered that question. And I remember someone said analysis and analytics. I believe I answered that question in the beginning. So analysis simply means analysis, breaking stuff down, complex stuff down to, understandable units. Things don't really need to be complex. You understand? A lot of us like using complicated terms, for instance. You must have met people who like speaking very big English. Why that is good? Those big English you are speaking doesn't really make any sense to somebody who doesn't understand them. So you need to speak in the language everybody will understand. Some people, you speak to them, they'll say, wait, can you calm down a bit? We'll laugh over those things. But that's what analysis is. You do what? You just break, complex things down into, manageable bits. So that's what, so when you talk about data analysis, it's all about breaking data down into bits and pieces that you can use to understand what you're even talking about, and then make informed business decisions from there. Then when you're talking about analytics is actually the process of that breaking down, how you are breaking those things down. There are tools you need to break them down. There are skills you need to break them down. There are insights you derive from breaking them down. That's what analytics is talking about. The process of deriving those, discovering those trends, discovering those skills, discovering those trends and discovering those patterns. That's what analytics is all about. Then the analysis part is just the overall, the summary of what you have done. So it shouldn't be confusing. Shouldn't be confusing at all. That's what it means. I believe I've been able to, answer the questions thrown so far. I don't know if I left anything behind, because I actually noted all those questions down, and I believe I've answered each and every one of them. So I don't know if there's any more questions or clarifications or.
Do you guys have more questions? I would like to slip into something that.
Yeah.
Okay, ask your question, please. No, by Kechuku.
You okay? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm actually I do data analysis. Basically, I use SPSS, and basically it's more of research, academic research that what I do. But I'm finding difficult to transit from this aspect of analyzing data to financial analysis. So what will I do to make it more convenient for me? Or rather,
Okay.
how will I go about it?
Okay, if I got your question very well, you said you want to transition into financial analysis, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the transitioning from one point to another is something that people do regularly. Like I said before, you could start from this tool. Before you know it, probably you don't work with that tool in your workplace, and you need to move to another tool. So how to pick a tool from the one the one you have before is all about. Most of these tools we are talking about, most of them have a common, meeting point behind all of them. A lot of them. So knowledge of one most of the times guide you, in the knowledge of the other one most of the time. Okay. So how to do this is straightforward for me. For instance, let's say you want to move into financial, analysis, for instance. R is a very good tool for financial, analysis. R is a very good tool for it. So probably I don't really know if you work on your own or you work with a group. Maybe if you work on your own, R is very good for financial analysis. You can probably start from the scratch with R. Maybe apply the knowledge you have already, learn how R works and the rest of it. You are going to meet similar things there. And then you need to take things one step at a time. You don't really start from the roof. You need to start from the very scratch, from the basics. And then from there, you grow it to something big. Okay? So I think that's the root. You need to start from, from the very beginning. As you are moving, you find out that there are so many things, these things are interconnected in one way or the other. So you're going to find familiar things here and there. Add it to the one you have already. And before you know it, you've picked up that too.
All right.
I don't know if I answered the question. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it's fine.
Maybe I will get in touch after this.
Okay, it's fine. If you need to get in touch with me, I think my name is there. So what you need to do is just add my name and my surname, and then add at gmail.com. You can send me a mail after now. So you just add, my email address is a combination of my first name and my last name, then at gmail.com. There's just a combination of the first and the last name, and at gmail.com. I'll be happy to meet up with you after now if you really get in touch with me.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay, it's fine. I don't know if we have any other question, because our time is almost spent.
Yeah, we don't really have much time again. Just to chip into the beginners that have been asking where do I start from and all that. In all honesty, transitioning from one career to tech, it might be overwhelming sometimes. Sometimes you might be discouraged, but just look at what you want to achieve. Look at how lucrative this role is. You just need to be committed. I've seen so many people that started, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, they drop, they'll be like, I can't do this again. Not that it's very difficult, or maybe they are no longer interested. But once you're committed, once you're determined, once you say to yourself, I must achieve this thing, trust me, you will not regret it. People are really cashing out there. People are really making money from this role. So why can't you? So our speaker has said virtually everything. So just pick one of these things he has said and just run with it and start. The problem is starting. Just start. If you start, you can. He has dropped his email already. Send him an email. If you're in our WhatsApp group and you want to have a contact, you want to talk to him one-on-one, maybe for mentorship, and I can link you to him. Nnamdi, please, am I free to do that?
Very much free, very much free.
Okay, I can link you to him so that you can ask him all the questions you need to ask. That is why we are here. Okay, someone please, we are around, this webinar is ending by 6:30, and I don't want us to be here more than 6:30. Who just ask, we'll take one more question and we'll round up. Who raised hand? I can't find your name here. What's the name?
Please, if you have a question, you should please go ahead
Just
and ask.
one more question, please. One more. Once we take this last question, we'll round up. Okay. The person that raised his or her hand, I can't. Please, if you're here, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Please, can you ask your question? We've been waiting for you.
No, I was not the one that raised my hand before. I just raised my hand now. I just wanted to ask, for people that joined late, will there be a recording for this session?
Yes, we are recording the session. If you're on the WhatsApp group, we'll drop the link on the WhatsApp group.
All right.
Maybe
Thank
by
you.
tomorrow morning. Yeah, thank you. And Fiozi, please quickly ask your question.
Okay, my question is about giving instructions to the computer. I would like to know under what category, under what skills of data analytics does this fall under?
Giving instructions to the computer, under what analytics does it fall into?
Yeah, under what skill? Is it part of
Okay.
Python?
That question, the way I understood it, I don't really know if it's the way you are asking it. Because the computer virtually, what we do is to just give instructions to the computer and it obeys. So I don't really know if you can be more specific. I don't know if you can be more specific.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, maybe you see a job, the job description says that you will be required to give instructions to computer. So
Okay.
for those of us that are still new in the whole thing, I want to understand if it's also a part of a form of data analytics, if it falls, exactly what it falls under, what it's like. You know.
Anyway, we don't really have much time, but let me answer the question this way. The point there is the computer is a tool that we use to solve problems. So what we do basically is to give instructions to the computer and it will return answers to us. That's basic. If you are working with a system, if you are a software developer, a data analyst, you are this or you are that, that's basically what you do. So the computer is actually a tool for you to solve a problem. And how you solve that problem is for you to give instructions to that computer. And then it will return answers to you. So basically that's what you are going to do. So that's why I said if you can be more specific, because the question he asks is quite
Big.
yes. So I would have loved if you are more specific. So anything you are doing is giving instructions.
Okay.
If you are working with let's say any tool, for instance, you actually giving it instructions, telling it what you want it to do, and it will give it.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, this is understood.
Do we have any more questions before I hand over to our host? Do you have any more questions?
Why in comfort? Please ask your question. Oh God, we don't even have time again.
Please, we don't have time. Let's get
Why
the
in
question.
comfort? Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening. Please, my
Yes, good evening.
question is, if I want to start the course like as a beginner like me, how can I start? Like where I don't know if you get me. Like I don't know. He actually shared resources like some example like Google and all Audacity and all that. So how can I go about it to register? I mean to start up. That's my question.
Please, I would like to answer this. Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, I am.
We will
Actually,
share. Okay, fine. This recording will be available. The resources you need will be available in the WhatsApp group. You can still go to our website and download the resources. We will provide everything for you by today, tomorrow. I promise you, it will be available in the WhatsApp group.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, Nnamdi, thank you very much. Please, let's round up because this session is just 1 hour, 30 minutes, and I won't want to keep all of us here. Now, I said, if you joined us when we started, I said, we are currently having our training, a free training on UI UX, and we have like 3 of our students here who just want to use like 1 minute and share their experience, what they've learned so far. This is just to encourage people who are saying, oh, where do I start from? How do I transition? These people that will talk to you now, most of them they've not done anything in tech before. They just started with this training. It's just to encourage you to see that it's possible and it's doable. So I will call Ola. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please. Quick one.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Olaido Chime. I'm currently a student of the UI UX class going on presently with this platform. And before now, I have zero idea of anything that has to do with tech. I just got invited into the group, and the facilitator has been very, very helpful. He knows we are novice, like we have zero idea about anything in tech, and he takes it up from the scratch. He's very interactive. You ask questions. He's ever ready to answer your questions. The classes are very, very understanding. Like he starts from the least things that you can think of. He will help you. He gives assignments, and he will always be there to help you do the assignments. If you have any questions, you are free to ask him. And I think we are going to be graduating very soon. I can't even believe that I'm now a tech person. So I just want to encourage anyone that has little fear or anything about tech that it's doable. It's not something that's impossible. It's very doable, and if you just put in effort, the only thing is you have to give it your time, do your assignments. When he gives you assignment, listen in class. You have to be available at every point in time. Don't give excuses. I'm very busy as well, and I understand we have a lot of things going on, so you just have to be available. Make yourself available, do your assignments, ask questions if you have questions. And I believe tech is not really as hard as it is. I don't know. If I can understand it and do little things. When I say me, I know I have zero idea of anything that has to do with computer or anything. I was very scared because I had this notion that anything tech has to do with coding, and the society. I always like to follow the bandwagon. Hey, I don't want to hear about coding without even trying. So it scared me for a very long time till I just got encouraged. And by Mrs. Cynthia Okeni, she said, just try. If you don't understand, just go, just try. And I thank God I listened to her. And I don't know, it's been mind-blowing. And the fact that it's free, because I know how much this particular, this courses cost.
we have our internet and our social media. You can check, and the fact that it's free. Let me just stop here. I want to thank everyone, especially the facilitator, the people behind this platform and program for the good work they're doing. They're really encouraging people, the young ones, even the older ones, the Gen Z and the millennial, to have something to do. And I would like to encourage those that are here also to give it a thought. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. We will take one more of our students. Chineye, please pick one before we move over to the special offer.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chineye Okafor. I'm one of the students that is currently taking the UI and UX design. I am here to share my experience. It has been a wonderful experience. Like, at first, I have zero idea. I have this phobia for tech because I thought it's all about coding. And I never believed there is another part of tech that don't have to do with coding. When we did the first presentation, I was so scared. Even the first day they introduced the class, when they gave us the first assignment, I was so scared, like, wow, will I be able to do this? But after watching the video, because they made it available, after watching the video, I was able to do the assignment, not just doing it, but I was happy, I was enjoying it. And I never believed that I can do that. So I'm just here to encourage anybody that have interest in going into tech, that you should not have this phobia like I did. Believe in yourself. Believe that if other people can do it, you can do it. It's not a rocket science. It's not something that you cannot do. Just that fear of the unknown. But when you get closer, you have that courage, and then you break those protocols, those fear, those phobia, and then you see you can do it. Thank you very much. I also want to thank the facilitator. They have been so wonderful. Our instructor is so good. Like, there's nothing that you ask him that he will come down to your level and explain it to you, to the very least. It's a very interactive session. And nobody is doing I know it all. Once you don't know it, you ask, and your question will be answered. So I encourage us, if you have the interest, just carry on with it, and you will never regret it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate the kind words. Now, well, let's move over to our special offer, please. For this session, like we announced in the WhatsApp group, like some people here are saying they're not in the WhatsApp group, and I'm even excited that if you even joined, even without being in the group. So please chat Chiamaka up. I dropped the link here before. Chat her up. She has dropped her number so you can join. Now for the special offer, because we really don't have I tried sourcing for a facilitator to kind of do training for this data analytics, but I didn't get a good one. It's not that I didn't get I didn't just get. So for this, because after each webinar, what we like doing, we like encouraging people who attended the webinar, at least for them to attend more, and for us to achieve what we want to achieve with this platform. We want everybody to succeed. So for this, we are going to sponsor just one student, one candidate, to take an online bootcamp course in data analytics. So we'll put out a link, you apply. First 5 people to fill the form. Not just fill anything, please fill it properly. You have to fill it well. After filling the form, once we're up to 5, we'll shut down the link. We review the application. After reviewing it, we just pick one person. Now this person will sit down with you. We look at the courses available. We look at the price involved. We sponsor you. But as we are sponsoring you, we would have to be sure you're doing the right. We'll give you the login details to start taking the course. We'll monitor your dashboard. If it will take you like 6 months to complete, we'll be sure that you're doing it. So at the end of the day, you get the skills and get your certification. So please, Chiamaka, drop the link. Drop the link so that they can pick up the link and start applying. Like I said, First 5 people to apply, we shut down the link. From the 5, we pick 1 person and we'll work with the person. Hopefully, subsequently, if you're in our WhatsApp community, maybe after our next webinar, we might do a free training if we get a good facilitator to do that, where we can pick up to 20 students or 30 students that we can train. So, but for this, it's just 1 person. First 5 people to complete it. Please don't fill it anyhow. Relax, fill the form very well, because it's what you answer that will determine if you'll be selected. So that's basically what we have to say for the special offer. If you have any question, you can ask your question. If you don't have, we can end this webinar. It's been more than we spent more than 1 hour 30 minutes now, and I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you very much. Have we all gotten the link?
No, I have not gotten.
Why are they dropping the link? We've not got
The link is in the chat box. Please check the chat box. You will see the link there. We just put this specially for people who stay till the end of the webinar. That's why we don't put it in the WhatsApp group. For everyone who registered and stayed till the end of the webinar, you have this offer available to you. So please.
I've not seen the link.
You've gotten the link. Have everyone gotten the link, please?
No.
Okay, it's in the chat.
Not everyone.
Gotten.
Okay. I would like to make sure everyone on this call has seen the link. Yeah. Okay. So can we go ahead and end it? Because I won't want people coming to send me message. Oh, I was in the webinar. I didn't stay till the end. I did not get the link.
I haven't gotten the link. I'm sorry.
Please check the chat box. Check the chats. You will see the link there.
Please check the comment section. Check the comment section for the link.
Okay, check the comment section.
Okay.
So can we go ahead and end the webinar now? Have all of us gotten the link?
Please note that it's for people that stay from the beginning to the end of the webinar. I have the list for
Just
people
know that even if
stay
you
from the beginning to
link
the
is
end.
someone else, if you did not stay to the end of the webinar, we know because we have the list here with us.
Yes.
So we'll compare all these things. So even if you share the link to someone else, once the person did not attend this webinar, we know the person will be disqualified. So it's for people that are here present. Okay. Okay, so can we go ahead and end this call now? Have everybody gotten the link? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. So thank you everybody for attending this webinar. We really appreciate you for joining us. If you're not here, we won't have people that we are talking to. We appreciate you. Next month, we will pick another career role in tech and we'll talk about it. And if we have a special offer for you, we'll still give it to you. Thank you so much. And I would like to end the call. Have an amazing night. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, ma. Good night.
Just leave the call.